I am Maria May. I'm your hot, sexy MILF. You could find me on OF. You could find me on Instagram, X, Minivids. I just started with Pornhub. You can check me out. I just did my first pro scene at Naughty America. It is super hot. And I have a lot more big things coming ahead. So stay tuned, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the dojo. You know it's the John the Ninja Studios, and I have a absolute bombshell. And when I say that, I don't mean a blonde because you know I like my brunettes, people. But I'm talking about a bombshell at life, and she loves her country. She loves country. Get it? Country music. See what I did there? And she also loves a challenge. She is a big hiker, loves her murder mysteries, but you even might catch her playing a game of Pac-Man once in a while. But I digress. She's an East Coaster like me who has actually had some hand in helping a lot of people. She was a peer recovery specialist for a long time at drug and rehab. I'm sorry, I'm mincing words because of all my other experiences, but drug and rehab facilities helping people. But after discovering somebody she knew on OnlyFans, her and her husband, who have a great relationship, may I add, started toying with the idea of what if they started putting out the videos they enjoyed making out there. And one thing led to another. But you guys have tuned in because you already know her name was Maria May. And Miss May has created over 50 stellar collaborations with Max Fills, Gigi Dior, Elizabeth Skylar, but most recently the legend himself, Manuel Ferrara. And she's also dropping a new scene on Naughty America, July 24th. Sorry, mixing words again.
Yep.
So, here to talk about her new collaboration and her new scene coming out, Miss Maria May. Mademoiselle, how are you?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. It's nice to meet you, John.
Thank you so much for coming. I know it was a busy schedule and you just squeezed me in. I do have to ask because I'm a big music man. That's how this podcast started.
Yep, I know that.
How did you get into country? Who was your favorite artist? I'm a Johnny Cash man, but purists
You
say
are.
that they say he's not really he's not really country, and I'm like,
No, he
okay.
kind of is. Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't. I've been listening to country. I can't even tell you for years upon years. Probably like in my 20s. Um, I finally made it out to Nashville last year, which was really exciting. But I listen to all types of country. So I have artists from like new country, to all like you just said, Johnny Cash. It's just my fave. It's my go-to. And it just puts me in a good mood, right?
Indeed, it does. You said that anything that brings you peace you want to do, and you expressed it in a way that made it sound like you actually play music as well. Is that true?
I don't play music. I wish I did. I've had a lot of friends that played the guitar. My son plays the guitar. But if it's one thing that I regret not picking up an instrument and doing my thing. So, but I just love music. I really think that it's good mind therapy for me. I listen to certain types of music when whatever my moods, whatever mood strikes. So, I just love it. Being in the car, just jamming out. Yeah. So.
Who would you say have been your favorite artist, not just country? Because I know your tastes kind of go all over the place.
It does. I'm really big into stick figure. I've seen them a couple times. I love their music. I love their lyrics. It just kind of I could just like sit back and huge smile on my face. I'm like glowing just from just the sounds. And yeah, I do like hard rock too. I love hard rock. I used to be a big metalhead, so that's just back in the day. But yeah, I love music all around. So
Indeed, indeed. And you also love tattoos. I am a huge fan of
yes.
the art of tattoos, but I don't know if I'm just, scared or I don't want to put the money
Really?
down. So no tattoos yet, but I always enjoy seeing the art because it's so personal for people. I wanted to know what was your first tattoo because your sleeve has gotten a lot of compliments.
I'm big into artwork. Every tattoo I have does have some meaning. But it's funny because it's an addiction. So once you're getting one tattoo, you're thinking about the next one as she's yeah. So I think the first one I actually just got covered up. It was like a rose on my ankle. It was like I'll pick number 4 on the wall. So years later, I'm like, I gotta cover this up. So I covered it up with a pit bull. That's my favorite breed, dog wise. I have one now, but yeah, I covered that up. I have sunsets. I have hibiscus flowers. Um, yeah, I love my artwork, and I love the colors. I like bright colors. So
You're so adventurous, not just sexually, but out in the real world with everything with your hobbies and etc. And one that caught my attention that I respect fondly is
Hmm.
bodybuilding, and you did that for a time. I wanted to know if you ever competed.
I never actually did like bodybuilding, but I did work with a trainer pretty hard about like a year ago, which I stopped working with the trainer, but I do a lot of stuff at home. I'm getting up there in age and I'm feeling like, what you don't use, you lose, right? So I gotta keep like making my body look the way it should look, and it's looking pretty good these days. So all my hard work paid off.
And all your fans would agree. I can attest to
Yes.
that, mademoiselle. Looking
Yes.
lovely. But something
Yes.
that I always think about for performers is a lot of the performers that I've had the opportunity to interview, whether or not it was music, adult entertainment, whether they're actors, but a lot of them have this, I'm living my life, my terms, my way, no problem whatsoever. And I always think about
Right.
certain things that other people do, like certain regrets, like, oh, I should have tried. And a lot of performers never really expressed that. I was wondering in this time period, because you're a lady, we're not going to ask your age.
Mhm.
Shame on anybody that does.
Yeah, yeah,
But, there's a lot of, you did start later in your life doing this, and it did kind of
yeah.
spiral into it. But I wanted to know, do you feel like since you did medical work and helped people so much, do you think this is kind of your time to really bask in your life, trying to take back for
Absolutely.
lost years?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. Um, I've worked really hard with clients with, like mind therapy and getting them through all their struggles and trauma and whatnot. And I feel like really like deep down inside, I've always been a wild child. So I've always had that like, I really like, what I love I'm actually doing like as a career. It's just mind blowing. There's not a day I don't wake up where I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like I just at my age and just the motivation I have to keep going and to keep striving at this, yeah, it's big time for me. It really is. I'm so excited. But yeah, I think everything that I've done in my life has really helped me get to where I'm at, and I have no regrets. And I'm actually really happy that I'm pursuing what I what I always thought and dreamed about for all these years. I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually doing this. So yeah, but I like I said, I have no regrets. I have beautiful stories of my past and everything else, but it's kind of like it all led me to this. Like I'm like, like what? you know, it's amazing.
When you're dealing with the public, dealing with people on even a medical level, it does change the way your approach is. It's not just like door to door sales or going seeing a customer at the shop. What
Right.
led you down into that field, and what was the most rewarding part of it for you?
I think because I related with what my career like description really is, because I'm a peer support. I'm not like a drug and alcohol counselor or nothing like that. I'm peer support. So I support clients who have struggles and stuff that they can't let go, which like, leads them to reaching for a substance, right? So I too have struggled way back. And so I can relate with a lot of the clients that I was helping um to help them find sobriety, and I dealt with those same struggles in my past. So it was like the perfect opportunity for me to, take my life experience and help others. And wow, like sobriety for me has been unreal. So I'm really, really happy to once again be in the place that I'm in and still continue to help others, where they can't find their path to, you know, freedom and sobriety. So yes.
As humans, we're always striving to have that peace of mind, and sometimes when those addictions, which are chemical, they are diseases, when they take over, it does skew the thinking because it's still cerebral. Uh,
Absolutely.
so hopping into this, I don't hope I don't overstep a boundary, but the admiration and love you and your husband have for each other, very evident. And it's only been a short marriage thus far. It's under 3 years, if I'm correct. And
Right.
the fact that when you guys talk about each other, you're just cheesing, you're so happy, and a lot of that relationship had to do with getting into OnlyFans and doing the career.
Mhm.
So I did want to ask two questions, two prong. One, how did you guys meet? And then two, this is back to the music. I saw him and I was like,
That's okay,
I've
please.
I've seen him before, and I know it wasn't an OnlyFans video. Where is he from? And it just he's a face I've seen before, but I can't place. So I just assume like he just looks like a rock
Yeah, he does look like a rock star. He's been told he looks like so many different rock stars. But yeah, he's from Jersey. He's like, yeah, he's actually grew up kind of around me. And funny, we actually met on Tinder. You ever hear of it?
No, Nina, I'm struggling in the dating game, so I'm not entirely sure about Tinder anymore.
Really? It's not a known like dating app that really is successful, just from what I've heard. I've heard horror stories, but we did meet on Tinder. And we just clicked. We just clicked. And the best part, and it would almost like happen like right away, was the sex. It was like off the hook, off the hook. And I'm like, damn, like I met my match. Holy shit, you know? And from there, yeah, it's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better. My God. Yeah.
And me being a Jersey kid too, like I said,
Yeah.
Tinder has not been kind to me over there. All right, I do know
No,
about it. It has been
no.
actually all dating apps have been a disaster in Jersey. I will
Yeah,
not lie
me
to
too.
you.
Yep.
I always tell people because I came up with a religious background and a lot of it stay reserved. Wait till
Okay.
marriage. And I always tell people, you have to be very cognizant if you can get all three. If you can get the relationship like friends, if you can deal with money together, and then
Right.
sex is very overlooked. I think the compatibility helps. The other, if you get 2 out of 3, you're great.
Right.
But
Yeah.
sex is usually a huge factor in what makes or breaks people. And what I found interesting was the connection and establishment of the respect you have for each other. There are certain things you
Absolutely.
guys will and will not do,
Right.
certain things on camera, certain things off camera, and the
Mhm.
idea of boundaries and respect often gets
Exactly.
lost when it comes to sex. How did you guys, especially since the connection really was from
Mhm.
sex, start establishing like, hey, I'm comfortable with you doing this and you not doing this? Because everybody hears honesty, but they're not really sure what
Right.
that means.
I think that because I said like, oh my God, the sex was incredible. But I think, and even today, we'll even say like, we respect each other, we trust each other. We're partners, partners. We make decisions together, all these kinds of things, and then we have sex. You know what I mean? So all those things came first, and then it was like, and like, holy shit, and. So I think we meshed so well. That's why when we started doing this, we were on the same page with everything. There was no secrecy, there was none of that, because we were like, it's like we're one. It's crazy. It's epic.
Just out of respect to you, I pose this a little reserved. I don't want to relay too many details, but just as a fan, just as curious, the statement was that you found your sister-in-law on OnlyFans, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what started the debate because you and the hubby, you guys were already filming just privately, having fun. It's not a bad
Yeah.
idea, people. Think about it.
Yeah. I know.
I do it all the time, just not sexually. You see
Yeah,
me all the
just
time.
not sexually.
But it's fun. But then when you see something like that, usually would deter somebody. Like, oh, family, not blood, just somebody I know on OnlyFans. A lot of people are like, yikes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I wanted to
Well, we
know.
were.
Oh, yeah, what was that? And I'm scared for your man. Right? Was that his
Yeah.
sister?
Yeah. I mean, I
How
think
how
because
did it
because
happen?
she
I'm
put it
sorry.
on Instagram, and he was like, "Oh shit," and he's like, so and so, she's got an OnlyFans, like, oh my God, and so we're laying in bed and we're like looking. I'm like, really? He's like, well, I'm not looking at it. I'm like, well, don't look at it. We're going back and forth and we're kind of like giggling, but like both of our minds are kind of like, because we're like the same person, thinking the same stuff. Like, so we're laying in bed and he goes, I wonder how much money you can make off that, kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't even want to know. And then we were like, oh, we're like, oh, like, oh shit, like, oh my God. And then it just kind of like stirred up, like we were just our both, because we're thinking the same shit. We're like, oh my God, like we're already videoing each other, and our sex is like off the hook. Like, we'll just, what we'll do. And we started real slow, just a little bit in the beginning, like a little. And then, yeah, and then a little bit more, and it's like, I love the story because of us just being in bed going, "What do you think? Do you think like this could actually like turn into something?" And like now look, like holy shit, yeah, yeah.
Being as passionate as you are about the adult entertainment industry, what was it like? You already expressed you guys did your research, but you did a little bit more diving deep into it because prior to the most that you ever really watched, at least from prior record was
Right.
lesbian porn. So then you had
Right.
to start studying like how does OnlyFans work, how do industry work. What were some eye-opening things you found out? They were like, oh, I never would have thought that. We could probably utilize this to our benefit.
Yeah, I mean, we did so much research. We read and read and read, and then it was like, well, maybe we should try and get like a collab, like, and then and then as soon as that first one with Gigi Dior happens, it was like it opens up a whole new world that we had no idea existed. I had no idea that everyone that I've met, especially from Gigi's first collab, was they were just real people, like the industry alone. I was just like, oh my God, even with the lights and the, costume and like everything that we were getting together, it was like there were real people, like pounds at the end, like, like you pound, like it was it was incredible. It was incredible. So I think it was the first was the people. I had no idea that it was such an amazing circle of people. Everyone we met, cameramen, like everyone, So that was the first thing. And like I said, we did a lot of reading, a lot of stuff we were pulling up on Google, like, well, what if we do this? What if they and we're once again, I know you said I was watching a lot of lesbian porn, growing up, which I did. I was never really into like porn, like with guys. So then I started watching a lot of stuff that I was like, oh shit, like, like if you do this, like it was it was like, wow, it was incredible.
I wanted to know what anxiety you experienced because something I can't relate to your level because you're really putting yourself out there in an intimate way. And once you put it out there, you can never really get it back or hide it. And for
Right.
me, the most intimate I could probably be is when I'm playing music. And I just remember certain videos on my Instagram with me playing music. I'm
Hmm.
still, after 60 takes, after editing it the
All
best I
right.
can, there's something in the video that bothers me that I'm like, this isn't right. But because I did something that was so passionate that I was like,
Hmm.
this really conveys my love for this, or because I did something musically, I was like, damn, that
Right.
was spot on.
Right.
I let it out there and I let it go. And once you get to that point, the anxiety somewhat dimmers down or doesn't go away,
Right.
but you've really given yourself to, I would say the people, but usually I say the universe for them to
Right. Right.
interpret the art. What was that like gradually for you? The first video when you guys finally did it, and then because you've mentioned there was one video like you couldn't watch it right after the fact. It was hot when it happened, but then after
Yeah.
you were like, well, we're not gonna watch it. Did you?
Yeah, I couldn't watch. Yeah. For me, I think that it's not acting for me. Like I'm actually literally enjoying myself. Like I'm looking up at the camera, but it's more of me expressing myself and like you said, like just enjoying each moment, honestly enjoying each moment, enjoying the person I'm with. Yeah, I hope it comes out great. Of course, I'm like, how'd that come out? Like, and I'm looking at different, different like shots that they're getting, but I'm I'm literally loving, loving, loving each scene and I'm hoping it comes out good, but I'm enjoying myself and that's what it's all about. And it's all like up here, right? So there's a little anxiety like before I get to like whoever I'm meeting up with. Of course there's anxiety, but I always give it like 30 seconds of conversation beforehand before we start filming. And that just like breaks the ice. Like and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I love this person. We matched. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be hot, each time. Each time. I don't think there's anyone that I've met that I was like, uh-oh. Like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, like, but it hasn't happened yet. I've loved every single person I've collabed with. So it's been great.
When it comes to becoming a fan of this and you're now passionate about the industry, I remember when I became a fan of certain things like music, martial arts, you want
Mhm.
everything you can get on it. And I had the very fortunate experience of every time I gravitated to something in that field, even though it was out of left field, it wasn't
Right.
anticipated, it happened and I
Right.
was able to see these new heroes or I was able to experience just like everybody else that liked them for 10, 15 years. For you
Right.
now in the industry, who are some names that either A have been super helpful for you? Like you mentioned Gigi, she's been great with the
Mm.
collaborations. But you've also been
Yeah.
to XBiz and you met so many other performers and creators. Who is somebody that you were looking up to or you were like, wow, that person's cool? I saw you got to meet Dylan Harper, which was an interesting thing.
Mhm.
I didn't see that one coming. It was just a very random like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
look
yeah,
at
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think I mean I have met so especially at the Exoticas. My God, I've tried to walk up to like everyone literally and just introduce myself, get a picture. Um, I think I mean I've had such an amazing support system from the beginning. Elizabeth Skylar, she's been supporting me from almost day one. Like she started following me. We started like kind of like chatting here and there. She was giving me like tips and really really supporting me from early on. I know I mean I met Amber Lynn, the legend at one of the Exoticas, and we talked yesterday actually. She's been like, giving me like if I have any questions, they're there to answer anything that I have. It's been amazing. Sienna Ray, she's been my biggest supporter too. I just, and they're big, and I'm like, wow, like they well, like without like a thought, give me a call back or message me right back. And I'm like, Jesus, I know how busy they are, but they're, you know, Lorraine, she's been helping me out. And then like we formed friendships. And then I'm like, they're my girls, they're my girls. And it's like, and they asked me stuff. I asked them, and I just love the industry so much. Like I'm glowing again.
But I understand that that's kind of like speaking of wrestling. There's a lot of back and forth between professional wrestling and the porn world. But that's the same response I get when I go to these shows. And funny enough, I was just at an event, and the guy ended up being a AVN winning director, and his sister was so and
No
so,
way.
and it was
No
things.
way.
It was things you're sitting there like only in this industry can you be as open and actually have that opportunity. You don't have to necessarily close everything off and watch your back. You
Right.
still have to be careful, but you can be honest with who you are and what you
Hmm.
like and what you do. You don't have to put on a facade.
That's really big. That's funny. That's great that you said that because that's me. I'm human. I'm tough. Am who I am, and nothing or no one's ever going to change me. And so I have that little like that thing that I've always been. I've always been like that. Like so. People who know Maria know that like I don't put up with much. I am, like I said, who I am, and I'm not changing because I love who I am. So it's like I said, all the people that I've met have been like we just mesh, so it's been great. Yeah.
Do you think that drive came from your environment or do you think it's spiritual? I could see it in my parents. A lot of it was just there was no reason for them to be as hell bent on making it and getting out of their situation. Even though all the cards were down, there was no help and something
Hmm.
nobody was like, hey, you can get out of this. Some people helped, saw the
Hmm.
potential, but it was still on
Right.
their shoulders to pick up and get out and make it, and they did. I wanted to know,
Right.
do you feel like that you're excuse me, a product of your environment, like you had family that were
Absolutely.
like that, or do you think it was more circumstances of where you were living? Like I said, Jersey will do that to you. It'll make you want
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
up and
Yeah.
go.
Well, I will. That's perfectly said. I've said that forever. Product of your environment, right? So yeah, I mean, I've lived in other places besides Jersey, California, Florida, and whatnot. And if I'm not happy, not comfortable in whatever situation environment I'm in, I leave. All right, next. I need to be in a place that's good for me, and especially these days, I'm like at my max of just I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to where I am and the people around me. My family alone is yeah. When there is a that's we all support each other, right? Because this is a crazy world we live in, and there's struggles, challenges out there that are sometimes hard to fight through, right? But I don't stop. They all know Maria does not stop fighting for what she wants, and at least I can say I tried. If it's not successful, right? At least I say, well, I tried. I put myself in there. And that's like with this too. It's like I keep saying, like, mind therapy. I think doing what makes you happy, because you're not promised tomorrow, right? So I really believe that just be happy. If you're in a bad situation, get out of it. It's don't let it even be a thought, right? And that's just my opinion.
But it's a great one, and you're making me, as much as I'm saying words that are triggering thoughts for
Mm,
you, you're making me
yeah,
think like the power of support. Even if your family doesn't
absolutely.
like what you do, they still have your back. You have just shot with Not America, and that is the cream of the crop. People have been saying like, you know what, they're so good. They are the front runners of when the internet started to explode and take the industry there along with the
Mhm.
Brazzers and the Reality Kings and the others. I wanted to know, with that shoot, it was your first professional shoot,
Yeah.
and being as studious as you are, I wanted to
Mhm.
see what your experience was like actually having to do the system of how that world actually works, instead of the OnlyFans where you have a little bit more,
Yeah.
leeway to do things
For
your way.
sure. Yeah.
Now you have to actually know the moves, stay in camera,
Mhm.
do the poses, wait the time for the editing, and etc. So how was
Mhm.
doing it the style of I'm trying to think of the bigger, there's a word for it, mainstream style
Mainstream.
of
Yeah.
adult entertainment versus the OnlyFans style?
I'm not gonna lie, I was extremely nervous. I had a lot of anxiety, but I knew I was gonna it was gonna be great. But I was like, your mind games, like it's gonna be like this and it's gonna be like that. And I'm not gonna, just that's what your thinking does. Um, and it was within 1 minute of me being around the staff and being in that moment, I was completely at ease, completely at ease. They were like, "Great, you're gonna be here, or here then. You're gonna go here." And they walked me through everything, and they told me exactly what I would expect from the start of the day to the end of the day. And I was like, "Oh my god, okay, nothing like I thought," because I got myself so worked up in my head, right? So, but I once again, everyone that was on the camera guy, the director, everyone was just amazing people. They were real people. They weren't stuck up, they weren't bossy, nothing like that I was imagining in my head just cuz. But it was amazing, and I think that it came out perfect. I really I worked with Nade Nasty, and as soon as I met him, I was like, "Yep, that's gonna that's gonna work." He was just my style. I don't know. And I talked to him for a little bit, and we got along really well. And I'm like, "This is gonna be great." And I love it. He kind of like longish hair, tattoos, the whole nine. I'm like, "Yep."
When you show up on set for something like that and it's very professional, it's all business, how do you come into a place where you get to alleviate that fear? How do you do it? I remember some of the most pivotal moments of me stepping
Mhm.
up. Um, I always tell people there's no such thing as courage. When
Right.
you do something that's courageous, when you do the right
Right.
thing, you
Right.
you do not get rid of that fear. It just you run with it. And I've always prided myself. I may have never been, the most like gun ho, but I always went for what
Right.
I wanted. I had the fear, but I never had the fear of taking the step. So if I really wanted
Right.
it, I went for it. How did you try to alleviate yourself? Was there a breathing technique? Because your brain will play mind tricks with you.
Yes, yes. I definitely am big on the breathing techniques. Once again, like, and that's just throughout my life. I fear, and I mean, everyone, we're human, right? We fear things that we don't know, the unexpected, right? And of course, there was a fear, but when you've got an environment like that you're walking into, all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I could breathe. All right, they're telling me exactly what's gonna happen, and there's no surprises, right?" And and they started with like, makeup and hair and everything. And now I'm like, I look in the mirror, I'm like, "Oh my God, I look so pretty." That's the first, step done, right? And then but once again, like, I feared something that I haven't done before. And it just like I stepped up a few notches, right? That's how I looked at it. I'm like, it's either now or never, right? So I was just so grateful to get that opportunity. I mean, I've been doing this a little over a year, and I'm like, wow, like holy shit. It's just gonna get better from here, right?
And you've been flying. You've been able to do it in a way that's still showing the industry that, hey, I am respectable. I am somebody of this caliber, and them not look
Right.
at you and go, well, you didn't really go through the proper
Yeah.
channels, or you didn't suffer like we do,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
a lot of people do have to take a little bit longer of a time to earn that respect.
Mm.
How did you offer that statement? How did you get in contact with them? Was it them reaching out to you? Was it you reaching out to them? And what was the thinking behind, like, okay, I want to start big here? Starting with
Right.
Naughty America, like you said, cream of the crop, you
Yeah,
at
that's
the
what I'm
top.
saying. Like, well, it's obviously with anything, it's all about networking, right? So, like I was saying before, going to Exoticas, I introduce myself to everyone, right? Just because, right? Just because I want them to hear my name, want them to, get to know me and whatnot. But I started with an OF manager, which has been very helpful. And now I have a PR agent as well that's
Mm-hmm.
working for me. So I have other people also helping. And now we're all kind of working together. And we who knows who, right? And like I said, I still have all my support from the girls in the industry. So everyone's talking about what, who can help who, and that's just getting that support and networking and talking to whoever you can, and it's like go big, right? Go big or go home. Right, that's how I've looked at it from the beginning. I'm like, you always got to aim for bigger, so that's what I've been doing.
Pun intended and not intended, ladies and gentlemen.
Hmm.
Speaking
Hmm.
of big names, big etc. I'm a dad now. You just did your first LA collab with Manuel Ferrara, a legend in the industry, and
Yeah.
another guy who's just as passionate about it as he is women. And his
Yeah.
story has always been fascinating to me. Other than the fact that he's a gamer too, he's the one I kind of said like I see why he's the standard because he says you can't just be porn all the time even though he
Yep.
does relay that. He's like, I love
Yep.
women. But he's
Yep.
also like, you have to have the balance. And that's
Right.
something people struggle with, whatever field, whether it's work, martial arts,
Exactly.
working out. So for him, what was your experience like meeting him and how did you guys connect? I'm very curious to see what you thought of him as the man.
And he is the man. We met up. I was once again a little nervous just because I didn't know, like, I never met him before, so it was just messaging, and he seemed very, very professional just with the messaging alone. And I was like, oh, he's gonna be a great guy. And he was. We, like I do with all my collabs, but him, it was like the legend, like, oh my God. And we, once again, for the first few minutes, first like 20 minutes, I think it was, we just chatted, right? We just kind of got to know each other, which helps us both. And he's hot as fuck, and that helped. And he was just everything that I could have wished for and more. Of course, everyone after we left was like, "Oh my God, like, what was it like? What was it like?" It was like I can't even describe it. It was epic. He was an amazing, amazing professional. And now I'm like, now I know why he's a legend. Now I know because he definitely showed me in that short period of time, and I would love to work with him again for sure.
What was your take sexually? And I don't, again, don't want to be
Mhm.
disrespectful to your husband
Yeah.
or anybody else or this question, so please know that. When I did my interview with Eric Everhard when he dropped his book, it opened my mind
Mhm.
up to so many factors. Like, as far as my sexual presence, like, that was never the problem. I'm
Right.
ready to rumble,
Right.
I'm down to
Yeah.
go. It was
Yeah.
what opened up my mind was the mental aspect of getting to the field. I
Mhm.
didn't notice like we play games, men and women going back and forth, a little bit of
Mhm.
flirting, and I was
Yeah.
either always straightforward or nothing at all. And it opened my
Right.
mind up like maybe it's okay to start exploring different avenues, not only sexually, mentally, etc. Manuel has been stated to have done excuse me, has been stated to do both perfectly in the moment.
Yeah, and I knew, I knew I did a lot of research. I just found out like about him. I watched a lot of his filming. I tried to just get to know him before I got to know him, kind of thing. And it was the first time actually that, because he doesn't want the hubby in the room, right, which is fine. So it was actually the first time hubby sat down in the lobby of the hotel, and it was just me and Manuel, and that was the first time. And so we were kind of like, all right, we'll see how this, and of course hubby knows what's going on upstairs, right, but he's downstairs. But as soon as we met him, he was, like I said, so professional and such a great, great guy, and with hubby there, we were all yapping, and yeah. And so hubby was like, okay, this is gonna be fine. And it was. And he's like, I could do this again. It was great, but he has his own way of doing it with the camera and everything, and I have to respect him. So, and it worked out perfectly. So I was really, really happy the way it came out.
And the way you guys are, like when it happened, nobody gave you trouble. I'm not trying to shoot out to the couple that ran into an
Mm,
issue similar, even though it was professional, but the way, that understanding and that friendship between you and your husband have,
mm,
it's not every day. Even if you do or
right.
don't do what you are doing with your careers, it's hard to get that connection of
Hmm.
understanding and again trust. For you
Hmm.
being in this industry, what was thus far the biggest hurdle?
I don't know about like a hurdle. I don't know if I would define it like that. My hubby and I waited a while. Like I waited to have sex with other guys on film. I waited a while, like a long while, and I was actually blowing up a little bit, and I wasn't even having sex with anyone. So besides him. So I think we sat down, we had a discussion, and we were like, okay, well, if it we're gonna try it. If it doesn't work and we're both either feeling, off and we're not feeling like this is what we should be doing, we're gonna talk about it and we're gonna figure it out. And if it's a no, then it's a no. And after the first scene, and that was with Max Phils. That was the first time I had sex on camera with a guy other than hubby. Um, it was like no, it was like okay, it was like nothing as what we were once again, our thoughts, our thinking was doing to us, but it was like it was so fine. It was totally fine, and it's still like to this day fine. That's what I'm doing, and we've accepted it, and there's never been even a thought afterwards. It's like it's just crazy. We never would have thought it would have been that easy, but it was. So
Interesting, interesting. Mademoiselle, we did mention video games, and you are a Pac-Man player. I caught you red-handed on the Instagram. I was wondering because that would have been a great collaboration with Violet Myers, considering your publishing agency. Please excuse that tripping.
yeah.
But I wanted to know what other collaborations or goals that you had for the industry that would be a little bit more of the fan and the person actually meeting them and getting to do the deed like you did with Manuel.
Once again, think big, aim high. Of course, who wouldn't want to work with Kendra Lust? That would be epic. And I'm sure she would be just as professional and a beautiful person as Manuel was. Um, Tanya Tate would be great. I've talked to her a few times, just messaging. Um, I would say Jason Love. That would be a good one. Just looking at him, I'm like, yeah, we would definitely make some hot content. Um, yeah, there's a few in there, but once again, I'm having Exotica coming up in October. So I'm hoping to get my name out there and kind of like once again, walk up to the ones that I think about filming with and introduce myself. And it's a process, right? But it's a fun process. So
What's the best piece of advice someone's ever given you that you hold dearly?
um I would definitely think it would have to, I don't know if it's an actual phrase, but I mean, of course, our parents have always said, or even like teachers, whatever, patience. Patience is something that I've struggled with because I want what I want and I want it now, and that's how I've always been, always with everything, and so I've had to learn patience. I am, an older sexy milf, right? You don't see that many out there. And I've had to, there's been certain weeks that I've just been like, I just can't do this anymore, kind of thing. I have. I'm human, right? And then the next week I'm like, "Oh my God." And hubby's like, "What did I tell you?" And I'm just not a patient person. And so I think that's what it's been is tested each week because I really gotta like just chill, right? And know that good things are waiting for me and good things are happening currently. And so and so once again, hubby's always like, "Would you stop?" Like, I want what I want. I want it now. So definitely patience.
That damn commercial. I want my money. I want it now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was an absolute joy. Wonderful energy, real fast paced. And I'll tell you what, I might even subscribe. I ain't gonna watch, but I definitely support with my money. I always tell people that at the strip club. Guys, go check out Miss Maria May, not Mariah, not like Mariah Carey, not like Maria like my ex. Maria May. You can see her on X at the Real Maria May. It's also on IG at the Real Maria May. Reddit too at u/Jeff BACCA. And also you can check out her OnlyFans at Mariam8722. You can definitely go check out that scene with Manuel for 31 days. It's going to be 50% off, so that's a steal, especially with OnlyFans. And July 24th, you can check out her Naughty America debut. It's going to be something to exemplify when you check it out. Mademoiselle, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, John. It was great meeting you. It was great to being here. Thank you so much.
Everyone else, as usual, be smart, be mindful, rock on, Ninja out.
Hi, this is Maria May. I'm your hot, sexy MILF. I've been hanging out with John the Ninja. We've been having a great, great chat, him and me. You can find me on Instagram, OF, Minivids, X. I just filmed my first pro scene with Naughty America. It's super hot. I want everyone to tune in. I also have a lot of big things coming. Stay tuned, guys. I get hotter.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. All your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.